Hello, I'm TESSERACT, and today I'm going to talk to you about Doctor Who, Aliens of London. Now, as it is today, the anniversary of 15 years since the first airing of the episode, I thought I'd cover this episode because it was a pretty fun one, pretty cool one. It's not like the best of the episodes, but I like it. It's one of my favorites. So, starring Christopher Eccleston as the Ninth Doctor, Billie Piper as Rose Tyler. We also have the return of Jackie and Mickey Smith. Jackie Tyler, that is, who is his mom. And Mickey Smith. We have a few new characters that are introduced, primarily Margaret Blaine and Harriet Jones. Well, let's dive right into it. The episode was written by Russell T. Davies, directed by Keith Oak, and like I said before, first aired on April 16th, 2005, with music by Murray Gold. I swear, it's incredible how much of a genius that man is. I listened to the Doctor Who soundtrack just at my own time. It's some of the best music out there. If you haven't listened to it yet, I strongly suggest you get the soundtrack and listen to it. There's pretty much for every season, I think everything up to Series 10, there are soundtracks for it. Anyway, the plot. So, the Doctor returns Rose to the Powell estate, home, thinking it's about 12 hours. In reality, we find out it's more like 12 months. So, she's been missing for a year, presumed murdered by her boyfriend, which Jackie's been spreading around the neighborhood, so no one even wants to talk to Mickey, let alone date him or anything like that. Pretty much just kind of ruins Mickey's life at that point. So, after being missing for 12 months, Rose is really anxious about leaving again, and she's dealing with a conflict of wanting to continue her journey with the Doctor, but not wanting to put her mother through that again, ever. So, while she's contemplating that, we get a spaceship crashing into London. Blows up Big Ben and just crash lands into the River Thames. Faced with the prospect of an alien invasion, the emergency protocols become activated, and all of the experts are gathered at Downing Street, including the Doctor. But the Prime Minister has gone missing, and let's just say his replacement is not the most pleasant smelling of them. Whatever could that be? So this episode, I really enjoyed it. It's a first of a two-parter, continuing with World War III, which I'll probably do a review for next week. Just, at the anniversary time. But anyway, the episode, it's a pretty solid episode. It's more of a filler episode in this season than anything. But it's got a couple purposes on it. We see a little bit more of Rose's home life. We learn a little bit more about her, what's going on with her, relationship with Mickey and her mother and all that. And this episode sets up a lot of the threads that run through the rest of the series and onwards into David Tennant's era and onwards. So, the first thread I have on my list here, Jackie on the TARDIS and the Doctor not noticing. So, this happens again in Army of Ghosts and Doomsday, where again Rose points out, my mother's on the TARDIS. My mother's still on board. We also see the emergency protocols. Now, I think Russell T. Davies might have been giving a shout out to the Dead Ringers, because every single time I see the emergency protocols in case of invasion come up in this show, I always think of the Dead Ringer sketch where the Doctor calls the Ministry of Defense. I've included the link below in the description. Check it out. Really funny. Okay, we also have the words Bad Wolf being graffitied on the TARDIS, which is a running thread throughout this whole season. We get introduced to Dr. Toshiko Sato. She's not specifically introduced by name, but she is credited as Dr. Sato. And she is, to date, the only member of Torchwood, save Captain Jack Harkness, to actually meet the Ninth Doctor. And what's really cool is, years later, after this episode had aired, they did a callback to it in Torchwood, when Toshiko is just about to die. She remembers one of the first assignments that she covered for Owen, which was Space Pig. And we see her covering this assignment. The Doctor getting slapped by a companion's mother. This is kind of a common thread that keeps going. The 10th Doctor gets slapped across the face by Martha's mother in the Lazarus experiment. Believe it is the Lazarus experiment in Series 3. Burton's Golden Age. Although not yet had on the list, but that's the next episode. Albion Hospital. This particular hospital was later reused for The Empty Child and the Doctor Dances in 1941, where the child gets taken to after being killed by the bomb. In a scene where Toshiko gets roused by knocking in the morgue, you see the door, and the door markings are 4, 5, 6. Now I realize this is incidental and I'm probably reading too much into it, but 4, 5, 6 was also the frequency allocation designated by the 456 in Torchwood, Children of Earth. That was a cool little Easter egg. Now, this is the first episode where we hear the Doctor constantly refer to Mickey as Ricky. This would later confirm to be true, and his essentially true name on a parallel Earth in The Rise of Cybermen. This episode also sees the return of Unit, but it's very homespun, exactly as they've been in the classic era. They don't have a Unit uniform. They're just Royal Navy, Royal Air Force, regular members uniforms. So at this point in time, they're just a task force. They're a little conglomeration of different force elements. Which is interesting if you think about it, because the next time we actually see them is in the Centauran Stratagem two-parter, where they are funded by the United Nations and have money and massive funding, have their own uniforms, have their red berets and everything. Now, I suspect that has something to do with Harriet Jones, that she saw the value of it, because when next we see Harriet Jones, she is at Tower Bridge, which later becomes the unit headquarters. So, in the emergency protocols, she probably found out about unit, and when she got elected Prime Minister, made it her purview that they were given sufficient funding. Same as Torchwood. Funded by the Crown. And we also see the introduction of the Sludine. Sludine would reappear many, many times over. In Doctor Who, they would reappear in Boomtown, and I believe there was a Sludine as part of the Alliance in the Pandorica Opens. But we also get the Sludine and the Blatherine, which are their other family of Falpatorians, in the Sarah Jane Adventures. So, nice little threads everywhere. Some of the scenes I really, really liked was the Doctor and Rose on the rooftop scene, just before the alien ship crashes, and when they're talking about the Doctor being 900 years old and them not being able to have a relationship, or at least Rose implies that. She's like, oh, that's a hell of an age gap. I quite like that one because there's just Doctor companion banter going on. They're not in any immediate danger. There's nothing realistic. They're just hanging out like two friends. And there isn't too many of those moments really in, at least in this series, because as Christopher Eccleston said, the first words he said in Rose in the first episode he was in, run, which really set the pace to the 11th. And I will put this scene at the end. I'm just gonna mention it now. Mickey playing it cool. Love this scene. This is the best scene ever. Anyway, so without further ado, I am going to call this one quits. I'm going to call quits on this one. Anyway, whatever. I'm tired. It's 1 a.m. here. So I'm gonna finish up this video and upload it, and I will see you guys in the next one, whenever that happens to be. Enjoy your watch of Aliens of London, and have an awesome day. And also, stay safe, keep clean, wash them hands, and be good to each other.